BitClout may be down again, but we're going forward anyways with the most definitive BitClout video ever. Hey guys, Altcoin Author. So the majority of my videos are shorter form, but I feel like a project like BitClout deserves a longer form explanation because there's so little information about it. I did my first video on it just about a week ago, and my first little tweet about that same time. And at the time you needed, well, actually you still do need a password to get access to the site. That can be pretty readily found on their Discord or Reddit, and people are pretty generous with giving them out. My initial password was actually revoked, so I know that the founder is trying to keep the majority of the project under wraps until it's experimentally, tried and tested. And it's an interesting project. So I have access to the white paper here, which I had difficulty getting 6 days ago. And I'll talk a little bit about it in my experience. I have an account on there, and I did some posting, and I have some unique experiences to the platform that I think would add to the discussion surrounding the platform. So, BitClout, it's a fork of Bitcoin, so the structure is very similar. The transactions are much faster, and I would show you, but as the earlier part of the video went on to show, that it's presently down. I think it's been down for a few hours. And I'm just going to pull bits and pieces from the white paper that I think might be interesting. That they create creator coins, and they reserved, as far as I remember, about the top 15,000 profiles, mostly high people of some import, to come to the platform. And when they go, they can see that they have an account there, it's in their name. All they have to do is claim it by tweeting out the address. They relied upon follower base. So I know my account, @rect, I guess didn't qualify. So someone went in there and got my account. And so the account that I made is for the expat community I do some work with. But this is essentially what the interface is right here. Is it's made to look, and they describe it as a decentralized Twitter, so a decentralized social network. And it's a little bit different in that you can hide your posts. They can be censored. And in my case, I did a post that was about a day ago, and it just highlighted essentially what was going on. And it was touting the platform. I liked what I experienced. I liked the transmission costs. I like that when you do confirm a non-VoIP phone number, they will kick you like $5 worth of the token. I validated with the phone number and then without it to try both functionalities. But in my little thing right here, it said stages to success, outrageous. An NFT token, an NFT tokenizing an influencer's clout on a decentralized social network, get real. So that's the first part of the narrative. And this is what could possibly happen. I'll say with all these videos, never use your own money to buy any crypto. Really, there's so many airdrops out there that you can sell if you want to, that you can be into the space without any of your own money, really. Then you don't have to worry about a loss, making the community a negative experience for you. Number two is preposterous. They're getting sued. VCs will back out. It's doomed to fail. Yeah, so what we talk about, what we've seen here is that an influencer, Brandon Curtis, didn't like that his image was being used on the site. He was already an influencer, so he went ahead and reached out to a really prominent Los Angeles law firm to sue, and he was able to go through the traditional channels to find out exactly who it was. And I went ahead and retweeted this so I'd be able to get this quicker. And so he identified him as Nader Al-Nani. So I never report anything that's not already out there on Twitter. I mean, this guy has hundreds of thousands of followers. So, he hires one of the best law firms that handles these types of cases of distributed systems, Anderson Kill. And, you look at the lawyers, they're all Harvard and Princeton up, so they have a lot of the same connections that Nadar does. So Nadar, he went to Princeton. He has a lot of connections. He's raised tens of millions through other projects. But I'll just, rather than going down the road of outing him, because I feel like he made very painful inroads into having this project be decentralized. So I'll just kind of go into the backlash of this. Mr. Curtis noticed his name and Twitter profile were present, being used on the BitClout site. Likeness and content is being done without Mr. Curtis's consent. And then, likeness of over 15,000 well-known individuals to offer the consumers the opportunity to purchase tokens, tied to individuals' identities for direct payment of Bitcoin. So, certainly in California, which is one of the most litigious states in a litigious country, this is easy to throw in an unlimited, capped award lawsuit. And this is exactly what he did. I think that when you're that big of an influencer, that he doesn't necessarily do this for the visibility. I mean, it got a certain number of likes, retweets, and attention. The media is picking up on it. But I think he was just upset about trying to be pulled into a project that he wasn't associated with himself. So, it goes on, the complaint goes on to talk about how these violate California civil codes and, breaks down essentially what's trying to be kept behind closed doors in terms of BitClout. And that is that they raised some like $150 million in terms of venture capital backed by Winklevoss Capital and all the biggest players. And I think Brand, to a certain degree, is not happy with the fact that he's not included in it. And he wasn't included in it in any degree. Even the people that are in it, like Sam Fried Bankman, was like, okay, I'm going to validate it, but I'm not super happy about doing it. So, it's an aggressive use case, but as I go to show in this, sometimes those are the ones that, work well. Like the Napster guys, they did fine. They worried about the illegality of the process later, and it scaled and it helped them as venture capitalists that were able to show how to get something to have mass adoption. And made them the leaders in showing how the network effect can compound out and grow. So it's doomed to fail. And then obvious, this is the last stage. Elon has visibility with Doge. Of course he would claim his profile on BitClout. As bigger and bigger profiles are claimed, that adds to legitimacy of the project. So like Chamash claimed it, the Winklevoss twins claimed it. All these hugely important billionaires are claiming it, which I think drives people to the platform. And then the fact that you can't sell the token is also big, because you'll see that a lot of platforms will try to, at any cost, inhibit the ability of the token to be sold or shorted. I know FTX, you can't short the spot. So essentially that provides an uplift, an updraft, that is beneficial to the crypto to keep the pump going, higher. And I'm not saying this is a pump and dump, but that's essentially a good way from the economic standpoint of helping it grow. So everyone has a coin. And you can go into here and actually create a coin if you just have a little bit of the token. A lot of the people are having difficulty because you need a certain balance in order to even get support on here. So you need to put in, at least something in order to validate it without a phone, a non-VoIP phone. It's like $55 worth of Bitcoin. And then to validate your profile, if you aren't having one reserved for you, then it's, it's that 55, just to show the visibility. And when you put the Bitcoin on there, or when you have the BitCloud held on there, at the present time, there's one place that I know of where there's some degree of liquidity, and I'll put it in the show notes. But in terms of major exchanges, there's nothing. So, what you have here is the basic profile. you have the number of followers, and there's a global feed, essentially. And anyone that posts on there gets that visibility. And like I posted something yesterday that was just talking about the space and got like 20 followers, and then people started bidding up my coin price. And like someone came in with $50 worth, and then that increases the valuation of the underlying profile by ×3, as it goes to show here a little bit later on. But the use cases here are interesting because you're buying for this price, and the number of tokens does go up according to this. Essentially 3x is all you need to know if you're doing the multiplication there. Ratio chart, that as it goes up, you also benefit. And then as BitClout goes up, you can also benefit. But also understand that people can sell at any time, and a lot of times there's a minting cost, just like on Rarible and a lot of the NFT platforms, 10% or what have you, as the artist's percentage. Anytime you buy into it, you're going to be giving that back to the original influencer, which incentivizes them to be visible. And that's the whole thing about the slice for the author each time. It's an incentivization for them to stay visible, because increased visibility with these NFTs, this is really what this is, it's an NFT platform, is providing the activity and volume that would lead to getting some increased earnings for them. So you have here the use cases. And as it shows here, yeah, you can create an account, just tweet out the public key, and it'll be transferred to you. So what are they used for? Stakeholder meeting, yeah. So it's the same sort of thing that you'll see on Rarible, where you can create an NFT and then give like awards for it. You can, give people influence by having these tokens, and just take messages sorted by how many of your tokens that they have. So like, let's say that you have a tech support channel, and rather than doing Patreon, you could have people buy your BitClout. And then when someone sends you a message, you'd be able to see on that message exactly how many of your token that they own. And so that would bring about a certain amount of value, because they're getting the BitClout on the minting side, and then you're getting the token, which hopefully would be elevated in the process of their gaining influence, and you essentially signing off on them as an influencer. Sponsored posts, yeah. So if you want to get like a retweet, people would say you need to buy these number of tokens. And it's not the sort of thing where like you can like, have 1,000 crypto in order to get a retweet or whatever, because that has a snapshot effect where you'll hold it just for the exact second that you need to have that amount of crypto. And then beyond that, they'll sell almost immediately. Like you'll see a fork from Monero back when they had a bunch of Monero forks, and people would hold on to it at the exact second that the fork was going to be snapshotted, and then sell immediately after that. So it's a huge pump and then a huge dump. So this has a different effect of, if you mint into it, you're giving a portion of the BitClout to that user. So that is essentially a transmission of value that would benefit that creator. So they're happy to provide something right off the bat. And it provides less work in terms of the snapshot and the technical architecture associated with that. Premium content, yeah, you could include them on more content to you as an influencer. I mean, there's a reason why they picked 15,000 influencers to target for this, and it's for this reason. It's because the use cases are all uniquely suited for influencers. So further distributions, yeah, I mean, signed posters. A lot of people in the EDM space are already doing something with NFTs and physical goods. Beeple will have that plastic little art hologram that essentially is a palpable NFT, has a QR code and it's linked to the blockchain wallet. But people were just expressing, I guess, to him in his interview with Pomp that people want something to hold on to that they can put on their dinner table or show off to people or include in their social media beyond, a wallet address, and check out this, what I'm holding there. And I mean, it was funny when Pomp interviewed Jim Cramer over the weekend, he talked about why is an NFT better than just printing out an image. It's like he used the analogy of the Eiffel Tower. You have one Eiffel Tower, obviously, in Paris, but you do have many millions of the little 3D renderings or the figurines that tourists get. I mean, everyone gets those. So those figurines aren't worth anywhere near what the actual thing is worth. And even the one in Vegas is notable, but it has nowhere near the cultural, financial, and any sort of other value than the one in Paris that was built in the 1800s and was one of the tallest buildings at the time that it was constructed. So, yeah, I mean, I think he does a good job in the white paper explaining the potential use cases. I think the use cases are only limited to one's imagination. And then in terms of the blowing up of retweets and the Twitter angle, I think if you're looking to go with the monetization of an actual tweet sent, they're selling Jack Dorsey's first tweet for like 2.9 million or something thereabouts, I think is the most visible, and they have that @sent handle. So there's a lot of attention there. But this is really like a completely different social media network, essentially. While it's not truly non-censored the way I think Parler is or some of the other ones, it still does have a lot of the elements to it that are different. So I know on Twitter and certainly on YouTube and Facebook, a lot of the cryptocurrency tweets are being censored and taken down. So I would assume that this is being a crypto project would be less hesitant to this, or less opting to provide that level of censorship. Although I did get censorship already, and it was one of the first days of the platform, but I'm assuming they're kind of figuring things out. So, and talking about the supply curve, essentially you mint new tokens as you buy into the BitClout profile. So I could click this button here and click buy. It would say the number of tokens, and it's all generally relative to the price. And then you actually would be given like a 0.001, or depending on how much you buy. You can buy like 10 cents worth, so it's pretty low, of Vlad Tenev. This guy is notable because he owns the Robinhood company that got in some hot water with Chamash, and a lot of the GameStop fanboys are against him because of his decision to be able to only buy a limited amount of GameStop, down the road, but able to sell a lot of it. So when it took a dump that first time around, it was mostly because there was the only capability of people to sell and not so much to buy. So I'll do a video on that sometime in the future. But yeah, the supply curve kind of pushes it up, and the USD gets locked in there, and the creator themselves, or when you have the token, you yourself can sell the token, and it just provides those founder rewards that hopefully would, in the eyes of the creator, bring people to the site, but also bring as investors, people to the site in the hopes that they would stay active on the platform and bring in real value with their association and use cases. So, it is run on a node from a technical standpoint and provides copies of the data, complete decentralization. Very few companies actually will reach that threshold of full decentralization. So the fact that this has inroads to protect, the management team and the feed algorithm being malleable, I think is, par for the course. If it's true decentralization, there could be some problems there, and if you're certainly doing raises with some of the biggest VCs, that's thorny. As this goes to show, yeah, they already have the biggest. I mean, Coinbase, Winklevoss, Alex Ohanian, so he's the founder of Reddit. North Island, Huobi, that's one of the biggest exchanges. And Social Capital, which I believe is Chamash's, I'm not 100%. And then A16Z, which run yearly crypto funds. So to the order of hundreds of millions. So there's no real surprise why they were able to raise as much as they did. And there's a cool little graphic on one of them that kind of puts all the logos together and makes it look good. But as you can see here, there's still a good number of people that have claimed it. You know, Wall Street Bets dude knows the guy that was the founder of Wall Street Bets. He claimed it. There's a lot of discussion earlier that Naval was intimately involved, and people actually thought that he was the guy that founded it, and it turns out not to be the case. Of course, Chamash, and then Diamond Hands is the founder, the gentleman that's being sued. And so there's just so much attention about this that, you know, if we go to the actual page of BitClout, the main one here is actually not it. You have to go BitClout _. And it's funny, like, this is almost many hundreds of millions, a few hundred million. And he's like, does anyone know how to get this handle? And that's the thing. You have squatters that'll hit a lot of these, Twitter accounts. So, people sit on these and just kind of hold on to them, don't really do anything with them. So this guy, it would have, I think, reflected more favorably upon him if he was able to have the main BitClout site. And yeah, I think, they did get the main bitclout.com, just wasn't able to get that Twitter. And those are sometimes difficult to get. But as we can see here, it's fairly well squatted. It's just retweets from 2014. So, in terms of, I see a lot of videos of it being a scam. And certainly I don't like the fact that it goes down, the fact that, you need a password, all these levels of confusion that, are putting it behind the veil. And I think certainly the lawsuit being there is not helping. And so, the misinformation that's out there is, a lot of these are for, clickbaity titles, even with the alarm. But I feel like the CoinDesk one gave a little bit more of a nuanced understanding. And, I think a lot of these using the word scam because there's a lack of understanding. The reality is, if it was a scam, there wasn't that level of transparency, then the most blue chip of VCs wouldn't have invested in it. So I would say wait and see on this one. If you can get an invite to it, certainly do check it out. I would go the route, if you have a personal cell phone, doing the SMS route so you can get the $5 back of the token, and then go that route as opposed to trying to buy the $55 worth of the token. There again, there's so many airdrops in the space that I wouldn't use any of your own money for anything crypto related. And wait and see. I'll do a follow-up video on this when the site goes back up. But for the time being, the white paper is, as far as I've been able to see, finally taken from behind the password, bitclout.com/1_paper, and I'll put that in the YouTube notes. So thanks. Be sure to check out my profile on Twitter, @Rect, or follow my stuff here under my Altcoin Author YouTube username. So have a good one. Take a look.